We're back with the president and CEO of the NAACP, Cornell William Brooks. As you know, Cornell, the president kicked off celebrations of Black History Month at the White House this week. Has he reached out to the NAACP to be involved in those celebrations?
He has not. He has not reached out to the NAACP, which is interesting and perhaps ironic. He did speak about the National African American Museum of History and Culture. In that museum, the work of the NAACP is featured, and the spirit of the NAACP is resonant in every exhibit in terms of our aspirations for freedom. So the fact that he hasn't reached out is curious. I would simply note the last African American meeting, or I should say occasion I participated in with the White House, President Obama had civil rights leaders from the 70s and 80s all the way down to the teens, millennial civil rights leaders. And it was a celebration. And it wasn't just a collection of staffers and political people, but really people who spent their lives dedicated to the civil rights movement.
If he did reach out to you personally, Cornell, and say, you know what, let's talk, come to the White House, maybe we'll go, let's go together to the African American Museum and tour that museum together, would you go with him?
I would be delighted to engage the president in the work of civil rights and African American history today. Here's what I'll note. Were the president to visit the museum, and I understand that he has, he would certainly note the martyrs for the right to vote. He would note Medgar Evers, Viola Liuzzo, Jimmy Lee Jackson, Jonathan Daniels, people who literally gave their lives for the right to vote. And if he could walk out of that vote, out of that museum, and talk about voter suppression as a reality, as opposed to voter fraud as a myth, then the visit would be, well, worth it. If he walked the museum and took note of the sacrifice of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, and then left the museum and addressed the hate crimes that are taking place all across our country. Were he to visit the museum and note the role of the NAACP and would literally work with us shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, to do something about the civil rights challenges of our time. The president invoked the name of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass once says, there is no progress without struggle. In other words, he was noting what's taking place in the streets today. That is resistance. And people are resisting the injustices of our time. So I'd like to visit the museum with him, but not at paying homage to the past, but taking note of the courage we need in the present.
Sounds like you're open to that idea if the president were to reach out to you. He says he's going to do much better in 2020 if he runs for re-election. He thinks he can get a majority of the African American vote. Very quick a question. What does he need to do to build up that support in the African American community?
It's not about polls. It's not about politics. It's about policy. And you don't suppress our votes and then ask us for our votes. Respect the Voting Rights Act. Respect what we sacrifice for. And stand behind policies that support the aspirations and ambitions of not only African Americans, but America. Don't play us cheap.
Cornell William Brooks of the NAACP, thanks for coming in.